Hi, I'm Beth Lathan, and I'm here today with Michelle Russo, certified hypnotist and life coach. This is a special presentation of the ABCs of education, and we'll be talking about hypnosis. We want to thank our new and best good friend, Jerry Rankin, for asking us to be on this special show. Jerry's the producer and the director of it. And if you'd like to send him any suggestions or make any comments about this show or get in touch with us, you can email Jerry, and his email is theabced@yahoo.com. I hope you enjoy our presentation. So, Michelle, here we are. We're going to talk about hypnosis. How did you get interested in that?
Well, I think I've always had an interest in the mind, an interest in ways of thinking. I enjoy thinking about things like the imagination and creativity, memories and intuition, and sleep and dreams. These things have always fascinated me. And then later in my adult life, I had a life-changing experience.
Really?
Yeah. I had always had a fear of flying.
Oh.
And this fear was so severe, I would never fly anywhere. I would never even put myself in a position where there might be a chance that I would have to fly. When friends or relatives moved away, I wouldn't see them again until they came to visit me, unless they were in a drivable distance. I never took vacations that weren't a drivable distance. And then, of course, after the events of 9/11, that fear just got exacerbated even worse, as I'm sure a lot of people felt that as well. And one day, the family got a call from my brother in Minnesota. He lived in Minnesota at the time. And he announced he was getting married. And the wedding was going to be held in Minnesota.
Uh-oh.
And I was trying to figure out, how am I going to get from Connecticut to Minnesota? And I even considered driving. It would have been like a 2-day drive to get there. And that was just impractical for a number of reasons. So it came down to it that I knew I was going to have to fly. I was going to have to get myself on an airplane. And fortunately, around that time, I had met a gentleman who practices NLP. And NLP, that's neuro-linguistic programming. And what that is basically a technique that helps you reframe experiences. It helps you reframe so that your perception of an event changes to a positive. So in other words, if you're afraid of flying, this NLP technique helps you reframe in your mind the whole experience of flying so that you can come to enjoy it rather than be afraid of it. So I met this gentleman, and I asked him if he could help me with my flying fear, and he assured me he could. And we had one session, and it was only 20 minutes.
Wow.
And he was able to remove my fear of flying. And not only that, there was a side benefit that other fears were removed as well, things that we didn't even discuss. I hadn't even told him about my fear of driving on highways, especially in traffic and fast-moving cars. I also had a fear of driving what I considered at the time to be long distances. Suddenly those fears were gone after this fear of flying was dealt with. And of course, this was amazing that this could all be done
in 20 minutes?
In a 20-minute period. So, I wanted to learn this technique for myself. I said, I want to use this technique in other areas of my life. And, just to tell you how well this treatment worked, when I got to the airport and got on the plane, I was sitting there, and I'm thinking, my imagination had a lot of fears about how small the airplane was. But when I sat down on that plane, those chairs were even smaller than what I had been afraid of. And the plane was even more closed in than what my imagination had been frightening me with.
Yes.
And you would think that having that happen would have re-triggered the fear, but it didn't. I sat there on the plane like this is just a curiosity. Like, this is interesting that it's so much smaller than what I had imagined. And I sat there waiting for takeoff, thinking to myself, would you just get the plane in the air? I want to experience the takeoff. I want to look down and look through the clouds, and I want to experience the landing.
So it became exciting instead of fearful.
Exactly, exactly. And the best part is, I would have been happy to have just white-knuckled the trip, you know, bit my lip, and just suffered through it. I just wanted to get to Minnesota. And if I had to be nervous and uncomfortable to do it, that would have been fine. But as it was, I was excited, I was relaxed and comfortable.
Wonderful.
And it was just an exciting adventure.
Wonderful. Wow.
Yeah, so I had a really good experience, and when I arrived there, my immediate thought was, I need to learn this technique so that I can use it in other areas of my life as well. And then I slowly began thinking that I'd like to learn this technique also so that I could help other people who have similar fears. And then, of course, I called around after I got home. I was looking for NLP masters who would be willing to train me. And I eventually came upon an NLP master who was a psychiatrist and a hypnotist, and he was also an NLP master. And I talked to him about what I wanted to do, that I wanted to learn it for myself, but I also wanted to help other people. And he said, you know, NLP is a great tool. I use it myself. But he says, if you want to help people, you really want a full toolbox, not just one thing. Right. So he talked to me about hypnosis and got me all excited about that. So then I had to begin a new search looking into hypnosis and how I could go about getting training and that sort of thing.
So what is that kind of training? Tell me about how you get trained to be a hypnotist.
Okay. Well, the school I went to a school called HMI, which is Hypnosis Motivation Institute.
Okay.
And now they call it HMI, College of Hypnotherapy. And they're out of California. And I chose that program because they cover a wide array of topics in relation to hypnosis. They also have a variety of instructors, so I felt like I was getting a really balanced background. And I also received the background in NLP that I was looking for, because they had a few modules included with the hypnosis courses about NLP, so that excited me as well. And they also assigned a mentor to me, which, of course, during the coursework of learning hypnosis, I always had my instructors to ask questions of. But the mentor was particularly important after the coursework was done, because that's when I did, you know, the hands-on work. I was actually working with hypnosis clients.
And then the mentor stayed with you even after you'd finished all your coursework.
Absolutely. So she was somebody that I could turn to with questions that I might have had. And also she was there for me to just help walk me through the basic steps of setting up a hypnosis practice, doing marketing and things like that. And she's still a resource for me today, too, that I can always turn to.
That's a nice relationship to have.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And of course, you know, other people that may be interested in learning hypnosis, they may not necessarily benefit from the school that I went to. There's a wide array of programs out there. The program that I was in gave me hands-on experience, as well as the certification hours, so that I could be certified. Not everybody needs certification. I know there's a lot of doctors, dentists, counselors that like to use hypnosis in their practice. And because they're already licensed in their field, they don't necessarily need to be certified
as a hypnotist.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So they might not need a program as extensive as the one that I went through. So they could go to a less extensive program.
But knowing what your goals are is really important as far as being able to then pick the right program for you.
Exactly, especially because some people just want to learn hypnosis just so they can do self-hypnosis for their own use and maybe to use with friends or family. And so they don't need to put in the time or the expense of going through one of the other programs. They could you know, choose something more appropriate for what they're looking for.
Right.
So I would advise people, if you're interested in learning hypnosis, to really think about what are you going to use it for. And then once you have that down, then go out and find a program that will provide the skills that you need for what you're looking for.
Okay. Well, and so how does it really work?
Okay. Well, hypnosis works. I'll explain the model that I was taught, because there's a lot of different theories about how and why hypnosis works. But this is how I've come to understand it. Everyone knows, the mind is made up of the conscious mind and the subconscious mind. What some people don't know is that the conscious mind, that's the part we're aware of, the things that we think about, our logic and our reason, that part of our mind only makes up about 12%
Really?
of our mind power. Exactly.
Oh, and we think it's so important.
Right.
Which it
really,
is.
It is, but the subconscious makes up about 88% of our mind power.
I didn't realize that.
Yeah. So our behaviors are actually driven by the subconscious.
Okay.
Most of what we do with our conscious mind is use our willpower to, change a habit if we want to quit smoking, or if we want to change our eating habits so that we can lose weight. If we're not working with our subconscious mind and we're working with the conscious mind, we're using willpower to get through that.
Okay.
Which is, again, 12%. So then you have this 88% of the subconscious mind fighting against all your good intentions that are coming from the conscious mind. So there's actually a barrier between the conscious mind and the subconscious mind. And this barrier doesn't form until between the ages of 6 and 8 years old.
Okay.
Before that, when children take in information into their conscious mind, it goes right into the subconscious mind. They're wide open. They believe everything they hear. Everything they see, they take at face value. Then they develop this critical area of mind, this barrier. And that's when they're able to use their reason and their logic to draw conclusions.
Okay.
And this is a good thing. It's a good thing that we have this barrier, because if we didn't, every time we watch TV and a commercial comes on and says, you must call now, we'd be right on the phone, because we wouldn't have that logic or reason to slow us down and say, wait a minute, do I really need to call right now? Do I need another set of Ginsu knives? So we're able to reason. The downside of having this barrier, though, is that when we want to change a belief, when we want to change a habit, it becomes very difficult, because consciously we know that we want to change a behavior, but we can't get that information as easily from the conscious mind into the subconscious mind. And then this is where hypnosis comes in. Hypnosis allows the client to get into that deep, relaxed state that allows that critical area of mind to relax and sort of become porous and permeable, so that ideas and thoughts that are in the conscious mind can then be filtered through into the subconscious mind, where change can really take place at a deep level.
So how do you actually hypnotize somebody?
Well, there's different levels of consciousness. There's beta, alpha, delta, theta.
Okay. This is in the 12% or in the whole thing?
In consciousness in general, yeah. And right now, you and I